Hi there, Martin. My name is Ellen, and I'll be correcting this essay for you today. Let's take a look at what you've done here. It's the letter, the English and Homestay letter. So let's see what you wrote. Dear Mr. Johnson, I am writing this letter because I'm going to stay with your family for 2 weeks during my English and Homestay program in December in the UK. First of all, I would like to introduce myself briefly. My name is Yin Yang. I am 21 years old and Chinese. I am living in Shanghai with my parents and two younger brothers. I'm studying English and French at our local university, and in my spare time, I love to do some sports, especially running and cycling. Okay, so far, lovely. I like this. Nothing is wrong. Everything is absolutely correct and what it should be. I might have done something a little different with the paragraphing. I would have put the reason for your writing with this introduction. I think they fit together fine. You could have said something like this. If you wanted to link them together better, you could have rephrased this sentence a little bit, connect it to the previous one, and then go into this introduction. And then this would have made a really nice unified whole. Okay? So I'm not saying you have to do that, but it is one thing that would have been nice. It would have showed a nice cohesive paragraph. And as you get into the higher band scores, paragraphing is important, even at task 1. All right, so if you need like a 7, an 8, or a 9, then it is important that your paragraphing is logical, even in task 1. So I think what you did here was fine. I think you could have just connected these into one paragraph, okay, just the way they are. But if you wanted to link these together a little better, then that's what I would have done. I would have said, stay with your family for 2 weeks during my English and Homestay program, and I would like to introduce myself. Or, so I would like to introduce myself. Okay? So you just connect it, and then the rest of it is absolutely fine. Okay? So let's move on. I hope you do not mind if I ask you, not already, that's the wrong word. I hope you don't mind if I ask you the following questions about my stay in the UK. First, which credit cards are most commonly used in the UK? Visa, American Express, or any other? I was wondering which card I should apply for at my local bank. Second, what will the weather most likely in December in your area? Heavy snowfalls and freezing temperatures? I am not sure at the moment which kind of clothing I should carry with me. Lastly, are there any mandatory vaccinations that I need to be allowed entry into the UK? Any piece of advice from your side would be welcome. Okay, so I thought this was good. You used some formal language. There are a couple of things that I want to change. So first of all, I took off the already. I thought it sounded awkward. And then here you've got a direct question. And that's okay. You can have a direct question. But one thing that you need to remember in formal letters is that you want to avoid a lot of direct questions, and instead you want to use indirect questions. They sound more polite. They sound more formal. So that's one thing I would have done. You didn't really, yeah, you got one here, a second one here, and then a third one here. So I would have liked to at least see a couple of these replaced with something a little more indirect. So what do I mean? You said which credit cards are most commonly used in the UK. So you could have said, first of all, I would like to know which credit cards are most commonly used. Okay, so even just adding that I would like to know is a way of making it less direct. Then here, this isn't a full sentence, so you really didn't need to do this. You could have simply put a colon here, okay, and then the rest of it would have been fine. But this on its own, it's just a list of companies, and so it's not appropriate to give it its own punctuation like that. Treat it like a sentence when it's clearly not, okay? So that's one thing. Then here you wrote, you're missing a verb. What will, you wrote what will be. Okay, what will the weather most likely be? What will the weather most likely be in December in your area? That would have been more appropriate. But again, I would like to see this be an indirect question. So you could have said, second, could you please tell me what the weather will most likely be? Or could you provide information? Would you mind providing information? So any of those would have been okay about the weather in December in your area. That's fine. And then again here you have this list, heavy snowfalls and freezing temperatures, but it's not a sentence. It's not a question. There's no grammar. It's just, a couple of words. So don't do this. Do we talk like this? Yes. Do we email our friends like this? 100%. Absolutely. But because this is a formal letter and it is an English language test, you do need to show the examiners that you understand appropriate grammar. Okay, so let's move on. As you probably already know, I'm going to arrive on the 2nd of December at Luton Airport. My flight with China Air is scheduled to arrive at 2 p.m. and the flight number is this. I am really looking forward to the time that we will spend together and our first personal meeting at Luton Airport. Yours sincerely. All right, that's very nice. I'm happy with this. I like this. Anything that I mentioned to you is essentially a detail. It's the little things that will help make this score even better. Okay, so I thought you did a very nice job. Let's take a look now at your task 2. So here we've got the essay about international marketing. Let's see what you wrote here, okay? Global companies are advertising and selling their products worldwide. The same can be said for many countries which are promoting themselves as the perfect tourist destination or place to live. Some argue that this kind of advertising does not respect the independence and values of the states where it takes place. However, others believe that such an approach supports international understanding and even cooperation as people are getting to know more about foreign habits or traditions. In my opinion, the advantages of international advertising outweigh by far the possible drawbacks, and it should therefore be even promoted and taking place more. All right, I am pretty happy with this. I like that. I think you had one extra sentence here, and what I mean here is this one. I don't really understand how this fits in, and I would have left it out. Okay, because this doesn't really talk about tourism. This doesn't really talk specifically about international tourism. So I'm not really sure why you included that. It would have read absolutely fine just this going into this. Global companies are advertising and selling their products worldwide. Some argue that this kind of advertising does not respect, etc., etc. Okay? So all of that would have been fine. So I didn't really get this, and I was concerned. I kind of had my my antenna up to see if maybe you were going to develop it in a way that you shouldn't. So that's why I would leave it out. The rest of this I thought you did very well on. So let's take a look at the body paragraphs. It is true that placing TV spots worldwide, as an example, is as sort of intrusion. No, is a sort of intrusion. People in these countries are getting maybe new ideas or desires, for example, for a new and state-of-the-art car with brand new technology. This might result in the long term in declining car sales in their home country. However, every company or country is free to do the same and likewise. In a free world and society, the competition between the best ideas or products will result in better products and more advanced technologies for the sake of all. Okay, so I see what you're doing here. Let me see. It's a sort of intrusion, and they get new ideas, and then this might result in declining car. Okay, there's some mistakes here. So I want to read it one more time. People in these countries, this was awkward. People in these countries are getting maybe new ideas. So you could have said this. People in these countries then often get new ideas or desires, For example, comma, for a new state-of-the-art car with brand new technology, but also make sure that you show that it's foreign, okay? This might result in the long term, this in was weird when I read it. This might result in declining car sales, SALES, in their home country in the long term. Put it there. I think it might be better. So then you talk about free society. So you talked about that view, and then you said why you disagree with it. So I thought that was interesting. What I'm wondering here, and this is why you hear me possibly hesitate and struggle, is I think I wanted a little more directly related to international marketing. In other words, I wanted a little more development. You went straight into this thing about everybody is free to do what they like. So you're essentially refuting what you've said earlier in the paragraph. And I think what you did is I think you missed an opportunity. So I want to suggest possibly getting rid of this and instead developing all of these ideas a little more. So, okay, great. Long-term decline in sales. How is that an intrusion? What does that mean? So just extend it a little further. Say that it has a negative impact on the economy. It could, cause the local car industry to shrink, and this could have lasting repercussions on the country. You could talk about some of the ideas that are displayed in these advertisements are contrary to the local culture and local traditions, and so this too feels like a sort of cultural colonialism. So there are other things that you could have talked about that I think would have developed this a little more fully. The other thing that I want you to think about is that each paragraph is supposed to have a central idea, and that's really important because it makes up part of your coherence and cohesion score. So when you do it like this, when you talk about this, and then you say why that idea is not valid, how clear then is that central idea? Do you know what I mean? So I had some concerns about the way you developed this, but I think more importantly is that you missed an opportunity to really develop it more fully. Okay? So let's look at the next paragraph. According to the other opinion, international advertising supports, get rid of the even, supports understanding and cooperation between countries. People are getting new ideas or learn about new traditions that they have never heard of before. Think about Italian food as one example. That is, but now it is very popular in a lot of countries due to, I would have said here, heavy advertisement by global Italian food companies. Or as another example, the growing popularity of celebrating Halloween in Europe, which was totally unknown even some decades ago. All right, well, this is now about globalization. This isn't about marketing, is it? If this is marketing, then explain it. How does Halloween, this decidedly American holiday, how is this related to international marketing? So make sure that the link that you see is clear to your reader. Sometimes that means stating the obvious, but you still have to do it, okay? Because that's part of what goes into your task achievement score. Okay. Let me think. All right, fine. So in conclusion, international advertising by companies or states has by far, no E here, more benefits as it broadens the minds of people and as a result, tolerance and even international cooperation and understanding between them. All right, that's a little brief for a conclusion. I like conclusions to be short, but I do also like them to be more than one sentence. Two is, it could be okay. Three even is possible. But one sentence doesn't really make up a paragraph, okay? So be aware of that. And try to at least either split these up or add to it a little bit. Okay, you talked about broadening the minds of people. Yeah, you talked about that here. They get new ideas. and learn about new traditions. Okay. You talked about tolerance and international cooperation. Let me see. Yeah, I'm not really sure that you addressed this international cooperation and understanding in your paragraphs, even international cooperation. Yeah, you talked here about competition. Here you didn't really talk about cooperation. And the reason why I mention this is because you don't want to introduce any brand new ideas in your conclusion. The conclusion is a place where you wrap up your thesis statement, your position, and then you just kind of leave the reader with a thought-provoking sentence, some sort of prediction. But you don't want to include any new information that you haven't addressed elsewhere. So that's why I kind of was just checking to make sure that you did talk about these things that you're mentioning in your conclusion. So I think you could have done maybe that a little differently. In general, though, your grammar is very good, and that's a wonderful asset to have. Both your grammar and your vocabulary were quite good, and that's great because the rest of the things we're talking about are writing skills and test taking skills, and those can be acquired um, with a little practice fairly easily. So that's good. That's a great place to be. So I would like to see you with more essay corrections. There'll be links on how you can continue to work with us in the email that will accompany this video. I'd like to continue working with you. I hope you found this feedback helpful because we can continue to work together and give you more feedback and help you improve in your IELTS writing. Okay? So hopefully we'll see more work from you. I look forward to it and I wish you good luck.